would you even be able to afford a small mistake with your life savings? What would you prefer? Risking crores worth of money, or spend a small percentage of that crores worth of fund, which is completely insignificant in the larger scheme of affairs, but have an added insurance that if something goes wrong, you're well protected?
एक आम आदमी को सुकून तभी मिलता है जब वो काम करके अपने घर लौटता है। अपना घर हर इंसान को सुरक्षा और राहत की भावना देता है। जीवन के उतार चढ़ाव में घर और परिवार ही तो हैं जो हमेशा आपके साथ रहते हैं। इसी उम्मीद के साथ कि हर देशवासी के पास अपना खुद का घर हो, हम लेकर आए हैं ये खास सीरीज न्यूवोको प्रेजेंट्स घर बनाओ अपना, अ न्यूज़ 18 इनिशिएटिव। यहाँ आपको हमारे एक्सपर्ट्स आपको अपना घर बनाने के बारे में पूरी जानकारी देंगे। जमीन लेने के बाद पहला स्टेप होता है परमिशंस और क्लियरेंसेस का, जिसकी बात हम पहले ही कर चुके हैं। अब बात बजटिंग और फाइनेंस की। यहाँ ये जानना जरूरी है कि हमारी जरूरत का घर बनाने के लिए कितना खर्चा होगा।
Let's assume that you have a plot of 3000 square feet, and for the family size of say 6 people, husband, wife, parents and the kids, they should have roughly 1500 square feet to 2000 square feet built up area. With the built up area of 1500 to 2000 square feet, it should cost you 3500 rupees per square feet.
ये खर्चा आपकी इंटीरियर्स की चॉइस के हिसाब से कम या ज्यादा हो सकता है, तो बजटिंग में आप इंटीरियर्स का भी खर्च जोड़ें, नहीं तो आगे चलकर हिसाब बिगड़ सकता है।
When it comes to fee structure, there are multiple ways to approach it. There are quite a few existing standards in the market where certain designers tend to charge a percentage of the money spent on a project. Certain designers like to charge based on the area of your project, like a set number. If you have a 2000 square foot project, they'll charge anywhere ranging from 200 rupees to 2000 rupees a square foot for designing based on the experience that they bring in. Another way which is quite common and a term that's used in the market is turnkey interiors, where the interior designer is also executing the entire project with his own contracting team. And at that stage, he would sort of give you an overall budget like 2000 rupees or 5000 rupees, 10,000 rupees a square foot. That would include his designing fee, all the materials and the execution expenses that would entail for the project.
अब आपको खर्चे का अंदाजा तो हो गया, अब बारी आती है अपनी सेविंग्स पर नजर डालकर लोन का हिसाब किताब लगाने की। होम लोन पर आजकल ब्याज दर कम है, तो इसका फायदा तो उठाना ही चाहिए।
The interest rates that was given by the banks, NBFC and financial institutions in this country was at a low of 16 years. So what has happened is that if you look at this interest rate here, it was in 2004, the interest rate was about 9%. In 2020, the interest rate we have seen is sub 6.5 to 7%. So which is like, it was so important for the consumers to get this kind of interest rate. So this 6.5% as compared to 2004-2005 levels, which reached at 9%. And again in 2020-22, we are estimating this interest rates to go up by 100 to 200 basis points. And maybe in the next couple of years, you will see this interest rates coming back to the same 8.5 to 9% level. So I think this is something that is going to be the scenario. This 200 basis points will not happen overnight. It will take at least 2 years from now to do it. You have just seen that RBI has raised the repo rates from 4% to 4.4% now. These repo rates will keep increasing because the money is going to be costly in the coming 2 years in the Indian economy. And the major reason what we are seeing why this money is going to be costly is that inflation has gone up to 7%.
लोन के बारे में जानने के बाद ये भी जानना जरूरी है कि बैंक आपको कितना लोन देगा। एलिजिबिलिटी क्राइटेरिया क्या है? वैसे आपको बता दें कि नियमों के अनुसार प्लॉट की कीमत का अधिकतम 80% ही आपको लोन के तौर पर मिल सकता है।
What you can do is there are two ways that you can upload this documentation. If you apply through a directly lender, you can upload all your documents on the lender website, or they can even go and maybe apply through digital aggregators, and these guys can indirectly send that particular documentation to the banks or NBFCs where you're applying for. There has never been such a consumer-friendly innovation that we have seen. This does not take more than 25-30 minutes for a consumer to upload a particular document, apply, because the way it has been built, all the eligibility criteria are already based on algorithms where customer can put in name, date of birth, income, and the property details where he's applied or where he wants the loan for, and where he's staying currently, because some of the cities are eligible for loans, some of the cities are not eligible for loans depending on the demogs that you live in. And these aggregators will mobilize you to the right lender. So you don't have to go to 10 different lenders to understand which lender will give me this loan or not. But with these digital aggregators, you can just have a choice of the lender. Plus also you will have an eligibility which is very well defined, that these are the 3 lenders or 2 lenders which will offer you this home loan, and they will also display you the rates on which these loans will be given.
So there is a very important tool called as project report, which an architect can actually give it to the client, which will be very helpful for a client to borrow loan from any of the financial institutions. Project report consists of 2 important things. One is an actual design of the bungalow, and second is a cost estimation in an elaborative way. So once this project report is submitted to the bank, it is easy for them to process for the loan.
यहाँ ये बताना जरूरी है कि हमारे देश में छोटे लोन्स की मांग ज्यादा है और ये मांग युवा या कहें मिलेनियल्स में अधिक है। रियल एस्टेट के जरिए देश की इकोनॉमी में युवाओं का योगदान काफी महत्व रखता है। ये निवेश टैक्स भी बचाता है।
So what we are seeing in real estate is that a lot of millennials have started contributing. There is a huge uptake that we are seeing from a home loan demand perspective. We are seeing a lot of uptake in terms of even the plot loan perspective, in terms of the way the banks are doing. To give you a broad number, today 22 lakh crore has been disbursed as a book value for home loans right now. It is growing at a massive rate of 12%. The last 4 years itself, this growth has been like 32% in the country. The ticket size, which was 24 lakhs on an average, has now moved to 28 lakhs in the last couple of years. So ticket size has improved for home loans. Now, as far as the plot is concerned, you only get a benefit of ATC, which is for 1.5 lakhs for the year, which is only payable for repayment of principal amount. और दूसरा होता है 24D, which is for interest repayment. So ये दोनों जब आप home loan लेते हैं, they are applicable, which is for 2 lakh rupees. So overall put together, 1.5 lakhs for your prepayment on normal repayment and 2 lakhs on your interest repayment that you do to a lender or a financial institution, you can get a rebate. This is how, as per the new taxation code that we have in the country right now. Overall आपके पास total kitty है 3.5 lakh rupees तक का rebate लेने का on a taxable income.
हाउसिंग फॉर ऑल यानी हर एक के पास छत हो, इसको लेकर भारत सरकार भी सजग है। लोग अपना घर बना सकें, इसीलिए सरकार ने प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना जैसी योजना लॉन्च की है, जिसका फायदा EWS से लेकर मिडिल क्लास तक हो रहा है।
There is a scheme known as Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which got established in 2015 and it is still 2022. It is basically nothing but a home loan for all. The scheme is for EWS, which is economic weaker section. It is for low income group. It is for middle income group 1 and it is for middle income group 2. How does this categorized? Any household which is an household income of 0 to 3 lakhs is categorized EWS, which is economic weaker sections. Household, which is known as LIG, which is low income group, is between 3 to 6 lakhs. MIG, which is medium or middle income group, it is from 6 to 12 lakhs. And for middle income group 2, it is from 12 to 18 lakhs. So these are the 4 categories under this particular scheme. In this, what happens is that EWS and your LIG gets an instant subsidy of about 6.4% to a maximum of 2.6 lakhs, and the MIG 1 gets it about 4% and MIG 2 gets about 3% of interest subsidy, and this particular subsidy cannot exceed more than 2.3 lakh rupees for MIG 1 and MIG 2. So this is a broad scheme which has been given by the Prime Minister of India for all the sections that we have described with the kind of incomes that these households have. So this is a very simple scheme. Customer doesn't have to do anything. Whenever they go to a bank, they can fill their form. There is a form that is available with all the nationalized and all the banks that is available, which operates it. And you can opt into that particular form saying that I want to apply for a EWS quota or LIG quota or MIG1 or MIG2. So all these 4 options are there in an application form, and this scrutiny happens through bank itself. Now, the second point that I want to take is that once you take this scheme, you cannot take any other scheme. So this is the second factor that you need to take into consideration. If you are taking this scheme, no other scheme will get applicable to you from a customer standpoint. There's a huge number of customers who have taken this scheme and they're getting a benefit of 2.6 lakhs kind of a subsidy on a EWS and an LIG income group that we talk about.
खर्च का हिसाब और उनको पूरा करने के लिए लोन लेने की प्रक्रिया अब आपके लिए आसान हो गई होगी। लेकिन जरा ठहरिए, अगर मामला पैसों का हो तो छोटी से छोटी गलती भी महंगी पड़ सकती है।
Would you even be able to afford a small mistake with your life savings? What would you prefer? Risking crores worth of money, having a huge potential financial exposure with no means to recover it, or spend a small percentage of that crores worth of fund, which is completely insignificant in the larger scheme of affairs, but have an added insurance that if something goes wrong, you're well protected and you can see that money coming back to you. Bottom line, get yourself a real estate lawyer. Let me put it in context for you. The collaborator or the builder who may be interested in your plot of land would have to necessarily conduct a due diligence on whether you, the homeowner, has sufficient legal title to be able to contract. And on the other hand, the homeowner will have to do a due diligence on the financial aspects and the viability of the project on the contractor's side.
Insurance आज की डेट में अगर हम देखता जाएं तो majority of the customers take the liability because it's a fixed expense that you make it. आपकी जेब से पैसा जा रहा है, it is not coming in. But if I look at it from a personal perspective, it's a guard against any kind of a calamity, any kind of ill thing that can happen to anybody. In spite of the fact it's a cash outflow, but I think it gives you peace of mind, it gives you security that you want, and that is very critical for any consumer that I would say in the current dynamic world that we live in. Even take help from your financial advisor who can give you an advice in which is the best home insurance that you take for what purpose, and then you can bundle into your overall cost and then you can give it. The only advantage when you take a bundled offer with a bank or NBFC is that it gets into your EMI. You don't have to pay additional amount from your pocket, which will not happen if you do it outside that particular insurance company. So I would say it's a call that you could take. Some of the insurance companies that these banks or NBFCs have, they're also very good in terms of their operations, processes, claim ratios. If that works well for you, you can bundle it with your EMI and your EMI outflow will go higher. It can be bundled into your loan itself and that can be processed through your EMIs that you do.
Never make a mistake of understanding architect and contractors are one. Basically, architect and contractors are two different entities. Architect is a professional who actually understands the entire process of designing and building the house. So architect understands your financial planning, your requirement, your ideas, and he is the one who actually can justify to your requirement in the right direction. Be it designing, be it your execution, be it your project management.
When it comes to budgeting your dream home, I think it's important to note that you don't have to do all of it at once. You can always space it out. You can focus on more functional elements of your house and break your budget over a bunch of years where you approach the aesthetic elements later on when you're working on a tight budget.
घर बनाने में बजट प्लानिंग के बाद अब वक्त है ब्रेक का। ब्रेक के बाद बात करेंगे उन नियमों की जिसकी जानकारी घर बनाने से पहले होनी चाहिए। वेलकम बैक। बजट और फाइनेंस के बारे में अब आप काफी कुछ समझ गए होंगे। आपको कंस्ट्रक्शन शुरू करने से पहले एक और काम करना है। कुछ बेसिक नियम कायदे पता होने चाहिए। इससे आपको कंस्ट्रक्शन में काफी मदद मिलेगी।
We have 28 states and 8 union territories. 28 states will have their own land laws, their own zoning laws. The 8 union territories, though, will come necessarily under the central government schemes, but they will also have their own municipal corporations. It becomes complex. Now, what happens is, when you go independently to a bank, they would ask you for a certain set of documents, and you would ordinarily just give it to them. What we would do if we are servicing a client is we first understand these documents. We see what are the data that you're sharing. We may even advise you that, in this financial year, do not plan to buy. Let's improve your financial health a little bit, and then commit to a situation like this where you want to go and approach a bank or an NBFC to raise a loan. Let's imagine a scenario. There are two people, separate entities, but essentially individuals. Individual A, individual B, let's call them person A, person B. Now, person A walks into the bank very casually and says, Mr. Banker, I have 10% of the amount which is available to me in my savings account. Could you please give me a loan for the balance 90%? And the property costs this much amount of rupees. The banks would have a SOP ready, saying that there will be a general checklist saying that, okay, I need your income tax proof, I need your bank account statements, I need your employment records, pay slips, how much time have you been in the industry, and so on and so forth. They would run the due diligence in the background, and based on your property which you have identified, the risks involved and all of that, they would simply have an internal report which is never shared. Now let's talk about person B. Now, person B has a lawyer, takes the lawyer, and goes and meets the banker. Now, the conversation changes. Instead of you asking the bank for just money, you are now asking for a very specific product of the bank. You want to buy a house, which is a built-up property on a plot of land. Now, you would go for a home loan, very similar to, say, a flat or an apartment as well, because it is structured, it is already being built. You would want to get a home loan. Things change when you're trying to acquire only a plot of land which is not built up. Ordinarily, banks will not give you a home loan on that particular plot of land. You will possibly apply for a plot loan, which is very different to a home loan because the interest rates are higher. There are certain different terms and conditions attached to that loan. For example, a home loan can go from 20 years to 30 years. On a interest rate which may vary, and right now it's quite favorable in fact in the market to actually have a home loan. However, a plot loan on the other hand would be slightly expensive because there will be certain more risks involved to it.
तैयारी जितनी अच्छी हो, परीक्षा उतनी आसान लगती है। इसीलिए हमारी सलाह है कि एक्शन मोड में जाने से पहले चेकलिस्ट आपके पास होनी चाहिए, ताकि आप कुछ भूले नहीं और आपका हर कदम आपके सपनों के घर की तरफ मजबूती के साथ बढ़े।
आई थिंक ये चीज आपको क्लियर होना चाहिए कि वो प्लॉट आप ले क्यों रहे हो। इज इट एन इन्वेस्टमेंट स्ट्रैटेजी और यू आर गोइंग टू मेक इट लाइक अ ड्वेलिंग यूनिट फॉर यू व्हेन यू आर टेकिंग दिस प्लॉट। एक चीज़ आप उसमें ध्यान रखिए कि जब भी आप ये ले रहे हैं तो इसका कितना टैक्सेशन बेनिफिट आपको मिलने वाला है, इसका आपको कितना आपको टैक्स गवर्नमेंट को देना पड़ेगा किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में, लाइक प्रॉपर्टी टैक्स और वहाँ का जो एरिया म्यूनिसिपल टैक्स है, वो सब चीज़ें भी कैलकुलेट करिए एंड देन यू शुड बी एबल टू फिगर इट आउट द एग्जैक्ट आउटफ्लो दैट यू आर गोइंग टू मेक ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर प्लॉट व्हेन यू आर लिविंग देयर। दो चीज़ें हमेशा से हमने देखा है कि विल हैपन। वन, आपका टाइम और कॉस्ट ओवररन हो सकता है। आज अगर मैं सोच रहा हूँ कि आई विल कंस्ट्रक्ट अ होम इन 6 months, हमने देखा है कि 6 months में नहीं 12 महीने में कंस्ट्रक्ट होगा, तो देर इज़ अ टाइम ओवररन विच इज़ ऑलरेडी हैपन। देन देर इज़ अ कॉस्ट ओवररन। अगर आज मैं देख रहा हूँ आज यूक्रेन का वॉर, नोबडी न्यू 1 month 1.5 months बैक देर विल अ वॉर इन यूक्रेन वर्सेज रशिया, so your cement prices will go up, your steel prices will go up, all your iron prices are going up, import is becoming a tough this thing, so there is a cost overrun which will also happen. So जब आप एक कंस्ट्रक्शन करने जा रहे हैं तो आप ये चीज़ें ध्यान रखिए कि ये ओवररन आएगा। इंटरेस्ट which was like 6.5-7% even on a construction loan today is like 7.5%. So suddenly we are seeing a 10-15% inflation which has come on only on the interest component.
You definitely would need the basic documentation. Those documents are the records of title, the record of rights, which is the revenue record. You have 2 levels of mutation. Let me draw it by boxes so you understand. There is a record which is called the record of rights, which is usually record of rights, which usually is a record for the government to know who is responsible to pay the revenues or the property tax against that piece of plot or that particular house. Now, you would normally have people who actually are the owners of the property, which basically will have their names figured out on these rights. The second record is called the record of title. Owner, who's the actual owner of the property. So you will have one or two names depending whether it's a sole ownership or a joint ownership. Usually these documents should correlate. It should speak to each other. If there is a building upon that plot of land, then the building plans, the sanctioned building plans, the occupancy and completion certificates, if applicable, that is to a completed building. These are the basic documentations you would need to be able to even make a decision that whether you should buy the property and then subsequently apply for a bank loan. Because the banks also would want these basic documentation.
घर बनाने की नींव से लेकर घर की हर एक ईंट तक आपका घर आपकी पहचान होता है। इस पहचान को मजबूत रखना आपके हाथों में है। आपका हर एक फैसला बेहद जरूरी है। आपको शायद जानकर हैरानी होगी कि जब अंग्रेजों ने ताजमहल देखा तो उन्होंने ईर्ष्या में आकर कोलकाता का विक्टोरिया मेमोरियल बनवाया। आज वो ईर्ष्या का प्रतीक माना जाता है। इस दिलचस्प जानकारी के साथ हम आपसे आज विदा लेते हैं, अगली बार मिलने के वादे के साथ, क्योंकि अगले शो में बात होगी नींव यानी फाउंडेशन की।